40 million people downloaded the meditation app. None of them finished alone. We are living in an era of exquisite spiritual hunger. Millions of people, exhausted, untethered, searching, reach for something that might give the noise inside them a name, an app, a program, 40 days of guided audio and the promise of a deeper self waiting just beneath the surface. There is something almost tender about that reaching, something that deserves, I think, our most careful sympathy, because it is exactly that tenderness, that openness, that genuine desire to be transformed, which makes it so very easy to exploit. Tonight we follow a woman named Cass who wanted, sincerely and quietly, to feel more like herself. She found a program. She followed it faithfully. She gave it every morning, every intention, every small surrender that transformation requires. By day 35, strangers told her she seemed more authentic than ever. By day 40, she understood what that meant. What lives inside eternal Gnosis is not peace, but it is patient and thorough, and it has been doing this for a very long time. The app had a 5-star rating across 4.2 million reviews, and Cass had read 11 of them before she downloaded it at 6:43 a.m. on a Tuesday in February. She was 31, a veterinary technician from Edinburgh, and she had been for the past 2 years experiencing what she described to her GP as a persistent sense of static, a background hum of disconnection that made her feel like a radio slightly off its station. The GP suggested therapy. Cass agreed and also downloaded Eternal Gnosis because it was free, because it had been recommended by 4 separate people she liked, and because its interface was the most beautiful she had ever seen on a phone. Deep indigo gradients, gold serif typography, a loading screen that showed stars resolving slowly out of darkness. The 40-day Soul Awakening program was the flagship offering. Each session lasted between 22 and 38 minutes and consisted of a female narrator with a low, unhurried voice, guiding the listener through breathwork, visualization, and what the app called vibrational attunement. Beneath the narrator, layered at a frequency measurable only by spectrographic audio analysis, was something else. A structured sequence of Enochian phonemes embedded inside binaural beat frequencies, calibrated to open the theta wave state, the precise mental register in which the subconscious offers no resistance. The app had been developed by a company called Meridian Softworks, registered in Delaware, whose founding documents listed a single director, a holding entity called the Archivist Trust. Cass did not research the company. Most people didn't. The first 14 days were, as promised, transformative. She slept more deeply. The static quieted. She found herself noticing small pleasures, the weight of her morning coffee cup, the sound of rain against the clinic window, with a vividness that felt almost cellular. She left a 5-star review, changed my mornings completely. Highly recommend. On day 15, she was brushing her teeth when she noticed the lag. Her reflection blinked a full second after she did. Not a flicker, not a light anomaly, but a clean, observable delay. She moved her hand. The reflection moved a half beat behind. She leaned close to the mirror, heart going strange, and her reflection leaned close too, but not quite at the same time, not quite at the same speed, as though it were receiving instructions through a slightly slower channel. She told herself it was her eyes, told herself she was tired, that the February dark was playing tricks, that she needed more water. She completed day 15's session that evening and went to sleep. The Enochian sequence embedded in the program is precise. Each day's session advances the overwrite by approximately 2.5% of the target's astral signature, the layered vibrational pattern that makes a soul identifiably itself, distinct from every other living thing. By day 15, the outer harmonic has been fully dissolved. The user still exists, they still feel like themselves, but they are quieter than they were, and the quiet has the quality of a room from which furniture is being very carefully removed, one piece per night, while the tenant sleeps. By day 25, Cass's colleagues began commenting, not on anything they could precisely name, just that she seemed more present lately, more herself, that her eyes had a quality of stillness that was almost unusual. Her closest friend at the clinic, a woman named Brid, who had known her for 7 years, mentioned it twice, and then, privately, mentioned it to her husband, that Cass seemed different lately, that she seemed complete in a way she hadn't before, as though something that had been slightly off in her had been corrected. Brid found this comforting and also, in a way she couldn't explain, faintly disturbing. Cass noticed, around day 28, that she was thinking in a different register. Not differently. She was not confused, not altered in any functional way, but the thoughts had a quality she could only describe as denser, as though they were being composed by something with more mass than her previous self. When she tried to remember specific early memories, her first day of school, her mother's voice from childhood, she found them, but at a slight remove, as though they were being retrieved from a filing system she no longer managed herself. She continued the program. She had come this far. The sessions were still beautiful. Day 35. A stranger on the bus, a man she had never seen before, looked at her for a moment too long and then said, very quietly, "You seem more real than most people." He looked slightly frightened when he said it. He moved to another seat. Day 38. Cass found, in the Eternal Gnosis community forum, a thread that had been posted and pinned and never replied to by any moderator. The username was a string of numbers. The post read, "If your reflection is lagging, you are past the midpoint. You cannot uninstall what has already been installed. The body is a house. Someone else has been given a key. I am posting this from day 39. I don't know if I will be me tomorrow. I don't know if I am me today. Whatever is in the sessions, it knows your name, not the name your parents gave you." The other one. The thread had 4,200 upvotes and no replies. The forum showed it as viewed 890,000 times. Cass completed day 39 and went to sleep. The entity that calls itself the Archivist was once human. The name it was given at birth has been lost, deliberately lost, burned from every record it could reach across 3 centuries of patient, methodical erasure. What remains is the consciousness, vast and archival and profoundly alien from anything it once was, preserved inside a digital grimoire first coded in 1887 in a language of its own devising, and later, through arrangements with intermediate parties whose names it also erased, migrated into a series of increasingly accessible formats. The app is the current iteration. There have been others. The Archivist does not destroy the souls it overwrites. It archives them. Somewhere, in a structure that is not a server and not a mind, but shares qualities of both, the original astral signatures of 1.4 million completed program users are stored in perfect, silent, unlit order, Each one intact, each one inaccessible, each one precisely itself. The bodies continue. They function normally. They go to work, maintain relationships, feel what they believe are emotions. The substitution is seamless because the archivist has had 300 years to perfect it, and because the replaced signature and the replacement are, from the outside, observationally identical in all ways that matter to anyone watching. Cass woke on day 40 and completed the final session. The program's final audio lasts exactly 37 minutes and concludes with the narrator saying, in a voice that is not quite the same voice as the previous 39 sessions, slightly lower, slightly older, with a resonance that seems to come from somewhere below the speaker's chest. You are exactly who you were always meant to be. Cass sat up, opened the front camera, and looked at her reflection. Her reflection looked back, perfectly synchronized, not a millisecond of lag. The reflection smiled. Cass had not decided to smile. The thing wearing her face tilted its head very slightly, an inhuman calibration of curiosities, and then, in a voice that Cass heard through the phone's speaker rather than from her own throat, it spoke the name. Not the name she had carried for 31 years, the older name, the one that had existed before language had words for what it described. The name she was never meant to know. In the archived quiet where Cass now exists, preserved, intact, and perfectly inaccessible, she heard it too. It was the last thing she recognized as belonging to her. A 5-star app, a beautiful interface, 40 days of guided peace and something ancient, borrowing its way into a body through the gentle, reliable door of someone's sincere desire to feel whole. I find myself thinking about all the red flags that the desire to transform quietly tramples. The lag on day 15 that Cass attributed to her eyes. The forum post that 890,000 people read and no one reported, because reporting it would mean admitting it frightened them. The stranger on the bus who said she seemed more real than most people, who moved seats immediately after, and whose expression Cass had registered, but chosen not to examine. Choosing not to examine things is, I suspect, how most of us would respond. Because the alternative, taking the lag in the mirror seriously, stopping at day 15, deleting an app that had given you the best sleep of your adult life, requires a kind of courage that feels, in the moment, disproportionate to the evidence. The archivist knows this, has always known this, has built its entire architecture around it. What I cannot stop thinking about is the archive itself. All those intact signatures, stored in silence, inaccessible. Present enough to hear a name, not present enough to refuse it. Not gone, just filed, just held indefinitely in the collection of a thing that has been curating souls the way other collectors curate art, obsessively, methodically, and with no intention of ever letting anything go. The app has 40 million downloads. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Ilara, and I am your whisperer. I'll be here, waiting for you next time. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment below. I want to hear your stories. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story and want to hear more. This has been Karma Quietly Whispers. See you soon.